Hello and welcome to today's session. Today we'll be talking about resumes and how to compile them. Before I begin, let me just say that the graphics used in this presentation belong to Greg Consulta. He's a workforce development specialist at the Texas Workforce Commission. So a resume in our part of the world in the Middle East is called a CV most of the time, but there is a difference between a resume and a CV. A resume is used for corporate work, and a CV is normally used when you're applying for an academic job. In order to show you the difference, I'm going to show you my CV. And a CV that somehow looks like a resume, but it's much longer and it lists all academic work in detail, like publications and academic presentations, professional activity, editing, etc., and lists it very, very differently from the way it would be listed in a resume. So today we're going to talk about what a resume is, talk about the different types of resumes. We have two types that we will talk about today. We'll talk about the resume format and content, its objective, and next time we'll talk about how you create a job reference page. So yes, definitely you can never get a second chance to create a first impression, and your resume is your first impression. This is what will get you called for an interview. It is a short account of your experience. It shouldn't be longer than 2 pages. Some people say keep it down to 1 page. I say that from my research, I found that 2-page resumes are actually just as good, and in fact they give you a chance to have more information in there. In your case, because you don't have a lot of experience, I say keep it down to 1 page. The goal of the resume is to capture the reader's interest, and most of these resume studies show that they get 20 to 30 seconds tops by the reader, so it should be captivating, and this is why your objective, which is the first thing in your resume, should be written in such a way that corresponds to the call for a job. So when looking at your resume, an employer wants to know what you can do for them and how you can improve their operations, and can you make them some money and save them time and keep the customers happy. So for you to do that, you can rely on 2 different types of resumes. This is the more common one, which is the chronological resume, and there is another type, which is the functional resume, and it serves a different purpose. So the chronological resume lists previous jobs and dates, most recent job first, and then to the later job. It identifies work accomplishments and skills connected to each job. It's easier to prepare. So you can arrange your resume in a variety of formats, but this is one way to do it. You can put your contact information first, objective or career profile, summary of skills, work experience, education, professional affiliations, etc. I suggest you put your education close to the top because it's very important, especially because this is right now for you in particular your strongest asset. Take a look at this example over here. See how it's laid out? We'll talk about this in a second. So when you put your contact information, put your name, address, optional. So if you are in Lebanon, for example, and your parents are in the Gulf, don't list an address. Put a telephone number and your email, and if you have a LinkedIn profile, which you will have by the end of this class, you also put the link over there. Please refrain from using a photograph or putting your marital status or your nationality. This information might play against you. If you are applying for a modeling job, then you can have a portfolio of pictures and photos of yourself. But on your resume, please do not include a photo of yourself. So write an objective, which is a short statement that includes the job title you want and the main reason for why the employer should consider you for the position. Here, you go back for the call for the job and use some of the keywords from there and include them in your objective. This way, if they are scanning and skimming through the resumes, they'll pick up yours and put it in the to consider pile. And if they are using a computer to scan the resumes, the computer can pick it up as well. Also include a short paragraph, 3 to 5 sentences that highlights your experience and qualifications that match the job. This can be eliminated if you have a cover page, which I really recommend that you do and you change every time you apply for a new job. So include the skills that are directly relevant to the job you're seeking. Sometimes people have 2 or 3 different resumes that speak about their different experiences. So for example, if you're applying for an engineering job and you have some experience waiting tables, you should not put that in your resume. When you're listing your education, list your university education first before high school. Later on, after you finish your university, you can eliminate high school education from your resume. Regarding the structure, remember the session where we talked about the white spaces and how a document should be organized where it's easy to go through and read, where the titles are in bold or underlined, etc. Well, you should apply the same thing here for your resume. The font should not be larger than 12 points. So 10 to 12 points, not smaller than 10 points. Otherwise, it will be unreadable and unappealing. Bold for name and positions, and use white paper and use some spacing so that it's readable. Use short bulleted statements, numbers or percentages, and avoid personal pronouns. Even though this is a resume, avoid personal pronouns like I or me, and start your statements with action verbs. For example, you can say developed or organized or studied, or I don't know what, you can use any of these action verbs. So the advantages of a chronological resume is that it's easy to follow. There is a work history shows progression, but the disadvantages include the fact that it does not hide flaws in the work history. So if you've had to stop work for a number of years or a number of months, it's going to show, and then they're going to ask you about it. Plus, if you're trying to change jobs, it doesn't allow flexibility to change objectives, something different from your experience. For that, you use a functional resume. So if you've had to stop work for a year or two, or for whatever reason, or if you're trying to change jobs, then you create a functional resume. This uses career profile in lieu of objective, and it focuses on your knowledge, skills, and abilities, and it lists company names and titles and job dates all the way at the bottom. The advantages is that dates and positions are not emphasized. Skills and experience from not so recent jobs can be emphasized, and emphasis is on transferable skills. However, employers are sometimes suspicious of this format. Number one, because they cannot read it as clearly, because they're used to the chronological resume, and because they assume that skills are current. When you're emailing and scanning, please make sure that you use Times New Roman. This is the most preferable one, and 10 to 12 size font. Avoid a lot of bold, italics, tables, and underlining, and use the keywords and your objective paragraph for your industry and job. And do not use headers and footers, because sometimes emails do not show them very well. Send it in a doc and not a PDF, because this way it can be easy to search. Nowadays, PDF is creating documents that are also easy to search, so you can still find words in that, but in order to stay on the safe side, send it as a doc. That's it for today. We're going to pick up next time and talk about how you create a cover page and how you also create a LinkedIn account as part of your resume.